Hello and welcome to the public meeting of the DC Lodge. I'm so glad you're here today, joining us. And as always, I'll ask you to keep your microphone muted, and I am going to invite you to read out the invocation loud so that we increase the vibration. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. And I would like to introduce today's speaker, Ed Moskowitz. He is from the Wheaton Lodge, and he has been attending our meetings, the Secret Doctors discussions, and the public meetings regularly since we went on Zoom at the beginning of the pandemic. He has a PhD in biophysics. He worked at Bell Labs as a programmer, systems engineer, and supervisor until his retirement. He is a founding member of the Wheaton Olcott Lodge, which took place around 2012, and he serves as its treasurer. And for the past 12 years, he has facilitated a non-duality study group at the national headquarters. So I'm so happy you're here with us today, and I'm handing it over to you, Ed.
Those people who just came in, please have a pencil or pen and paper available. That'll be part of the experience. So I'd like to start with a meditation, and this is called the Heart Opener, and it's akin to falling in love with awareness. It's akin to a reminder that awareness is the nature of you and all things. Experiencing this reminder opens the heart, and you'll find more ease and less resistance in our time together. So take a deep breath slowly. Exhale slowly all the way. Take another deep breath. Exhale all the way. Now take 3/4 of a deep breath and exhale as you normally would. Close your eyes. Notice that there might be sounds, sensations, feelings, and thoughts arising, but that you, the witnessing awareness to which these things are arising, are always already present. Notice that you are this clarity. You are present whether there are objects arising or not. If there are objects, you are already there as that which knows the presence of the objects. If there are no objects, you are already there as that which knows the absence of the objects. Regardless of the presence or absence of objects, you are there. Notice that you are not an observed object at all, but the open, spacious, brilliant clarity in which objects arise. You cannot grasp or hold this clarity, for it is the very spaciousness in which grasping arises. Notice that there are no walls to this clarity, no edges to you. You are borderless. You are not contained by anything. You are limitless. Okay, you could open your eyes. So my topic today is the goal of Theosophy and the means to reach it. Well, let's see if I can start this play. And I just want to remind everybody of this this metaphor, this diagram, that when you can look at it and see a vase, or you can look at it and see two people facing each other. And usually you could only see one or the other. But the picture contains both. So the truth, while being represented one way or another, I mean, it's true that there's a vase there, and it's also true that there are two people facing it. The two truths don't contradict each other. They both have a different point of view of the one reality of the picture. So anything I say is going to take one point of view or another, and it's not meant to contradict any other points of view that you may hold. It's to point to another view that you may also consider. And so being aware of this allows the information to come in with less filter than we normally use. So to start off, to talk about the goal of Theosophy, you know, I've always been fascinated with the meaning of the word Theosophy. It's composed of two parts: Theos, which means divine or God, and Sophia, which means wisdom, knowledge, or intelligence. And so Theosophy can be is defined as the divine wisdom or divine intelligence. Now, digging deep into what that means, well, you know, points back to the invocation that we started with. Those who feel they are one with thee, the divine, know they are one with all. And the divine, as defined by theosophical literature, is that which is in everything, composes everything, is the substance of everything, and there is nothing outside of it. Everything is contained within the divine. And this divine has a wisdom or an intelligence that's part of its nature. And just a comment, there's a equivalent Sanskrit term called Brahma Vidya, which has the exact same meaning, divine knowing. And so even in the Eastern tradition, Theosophy, of course, is Greek, there's this concept. And so in contemplating what could be the goal of Theosophy, I'm going to talk about it in two different ways. But before I do, I want to point to why you have a pencil and paper, hopefully, and what to do with that. And what I'd like you to do is listen to this talk or these ideas from the point of view that you are also teachers or sharers of this wisdom. And as you're listening, hopefully there'll be questions that appear that occurs to you or ideas. But instead of our normal way of coming up with questions for which we need to have the answers, assume that you already have all the answers. And you're coming up with questions that would benefit the rest of us. Questions that would spark discovery and investigation in people you would share this question with. So I don't know whether that's completely clear. If anybody has any question about what it is I'm asking you to do, you could unmute and just ask for clarification. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what could be the goal of Theosophy as divine wisdom. What, and I think of maybe a better word than goal would be agenda. What is the agenda of divine essence that is in fact everything? That there is nothing outside of it, that everything is within it, and its agenda could be, well, first of all, its agenda is beyond our mortal minds, our three-dimensional intellect. So I'm going to only project what it is that possibly we could understand or what could relate to us. I assume it has a lot of an agenda that has almost nothing to do with us. It has other things going on within it that we couldn't fathom. But for the parts of the agenda that relates to our part of the divine, let's say, in general, I like to think that the divine's agenda is to discover and express all it is in whatever variation. And part of that discovery and creation involves creating and then identifying with its creation in order to have experiences that are unique to that creation. So, for example, the experience you're having right now, I assume you're having what is known as a subject-object experience. You're the subject, I'm one of the objects, you're experiencing me as separate and related, communicating. This is a specific and a unique experience that I'd like to think the divine is having through us, that it could only have by pretending to be separate individuals that are independent and can only communicate on the level of ideas and symbols. This is a unique experience. This is not the only experience that it could have through us, because we know we have other kinds of experiences. And by analogy, the divine is also having those kinds of experiences through us. And so, you know, the subject of theosophy in literature like the Secret Doctrine talks about how the divine becomes more and more material, and then becomes more and more spiritual, and all through that whole narrative, the divine is experiencing things in new and unique and you could say surprising, even to the divine, ways. And so if I think of the bigger agenda of the divine, I think of it like that each of us and everything we experience are aspects of the divine interacting with itself in all different kinds of ways. And one of the ways that's unique to human beings is this ability to know itself both as a subject and an object. So, okay, so that's sort of the overall picture of the goal. But let's talk about the goal of theosophy in a completely different way, and that is the way in which it applies to where we are in our evolutionary position. And so one definition of the goal of theosophy is to help individuals awaken. Sorry, I can't quite see what all the words because of the way my screen is set up. And I can't, let's see if I can move it. Okay. Awaken to their true nature as spiritual beings, and to contribute to the evolution of humanity towards a higher state of consciousness and awareness. So that's a summary of the normal way we talk about theosophy and what its goal could be. Let's parse that a little bit. To help individuals, us, and all beings. So theosophy is thought to be as a discipline that can help individuals awaken to their true nature as spiritual beings. Right now, they're not totally awakened to their true nature. They're thought to be in an illusion or deluded to think they're separate, material, short-lived entities that are driven by desire, anxiety, and fear. And so Theosophy helps to change that view and change the experience of individuals to come to the truth of themselves and the reality that they find themselves in. And the other side is, in doing that, once that true nature is awakened, that we're in a position to help other people who are, you could say, less awake or in a prior state of evolution to evolve to those higher states of consciousness where the true nature becomes obvious. So let's talk about the means that Theosophy promotes to achieve that goal of awakening both ourselves and others. So one of the means that they promote is the study of ancient wisdom traditions. And in the previous meeting of this lodge, we were studying the secret doctrine. Other literature is like the Bhagavad Gita or other writings, theosophical writings like The Voice of the Silence or Light on the Path. And so how are they, the study, a means to awaken ourselves to our true nature? So the word study is interesting in that it's not the study that we do for normal studies, in that you're trying to just get facts, increasing your knowledge to accomplish a task or something like that. This discipline of study is getting a certain kind of knowledge and information that points beyond the conceptual, logical way of viewing things. So in studying certain scripture or literature, and in the way you study, does the actual awakening of your consciousness to this higher perception of who you are and what the truth and reality is composed of. So this is a special kind of study, and this is, for example, the kind of study we're doing now. So you're hearing my words and you're parsing the concepts, but at the same time, you're coming from a place and awareness that places these concepts in this higher, you could say, vibrational experience that allows the concepts to point back to the truth that gave rise to the concepts. to the states of consciousness that gave rise to the scripture that you're reading or to the words that you're hearing. So in the theosophical terms, it awakens the higher principles that are often ignored or unavailable to a person's normal way of thinking and perceiving. So this is one of the methods, and this is what we're doing right now. This is part of the means to achieve the goal. Now, the other thing that helps is the fact that we're studying together, and not we could study on our own and it has a certain effect, but the fact that we're doing this together has a way of breaking down the barriers that are and the limitations that are there when we act and think of ourselves as separate individuals. So this togetherness, as you could feel into it, gives rise to experiences and knowledge that doesn't seem to be available as much when you're doing it on your own. Okay, so the next means is meditation or contemplation. And meditation is simply the noticing of the happening of the moment. So most meditations start out with an object that you're focusing on, like the breath or a word. But in the focusing of that, you're pulled into the presence, the happening of the moment. And part of the happening is usually thoughts, feelings, sensations, and in focusing on one or another, it reduces our tendency through the mind to project into the future or remember the past, and pulls us into the ever-present moment in which resides all that we're looking for, essentially, and consists of all that is. And if we're looking for evidence of this higher existence, the divine, that is supposedly everywhere and all time, and who we fundamentally are, it is and only is in the present moment. And so the means that is called meditation is both the means and the goal at the same time. Now, the practice of meditation usually consists of the attempt to be aware of the present moment and the constant failure of that attempt initially, and not just initially. And so the practice of meditation consists of paying attention to thought, getting lost in thought, and then bringing yourself back out of that mesmerism of thought back into the present moment, and then thought reappearing. And that repeated process of seemingly gaining the present moment and losing the present moment is the transforming means that makes possible the goal of Theosophy. Now, contemplation has a slightly different practice, and that is taking some idea, some concept, and examining it in a specific way. It's examining it with the goal of illuminating the concept with the light of a higher consciousness or the light of the present moment. And so you take a thought or an idea and play around with it, and then sort of drop it and see how it reappears in a different form. And then you kind of drop it again, and it reappears in a slightly different form. And it's essentially illuminating a concept in the light of this divine wisdom, this higher consciousness. And again, this practicing is again alternating between this present moment higher consciousness and bringing that intelligence and wisdom back to the symbolic conceptual mode. And again, in alternating between this, you become more and more familiar and more convinced that this higher aspect is at first part of who you are, but then it becomes, you could say, more real, more the reality of who you are. Let me just see. Okay. And finally, service to others. Service to others has multiple benefits. And by the way, just like we were talking about meditation, I hope you are experiencing these states I'm talking about while you're listening. I mean, it may not seem so, but you are in you could say, a higher vibratory condition than normal. So we're embodying these means even while I'm talking. And the same thing with service to others. And that's one of the reasons I had you write down questions or comments or whatever, with the idea of inspiring others, because this discussion, this presence, that this meeting that we're having is a kind of service. We are doing this together in order to facilitate and help each other. And that's what service to others does. Now, it's interesting, when you're concentrating on service to others, you are not concentrating on yourself as a separate person. Now, there's a balance, and there's degrees to this, but again, the more you get into the mode of taking action to benefit others, it expands your definition of who you are, and it activates this higher way of looking at things and being with other people. And it also is part of the contribution to the evolution of humanity that is part of the goal. In other words, the goal is to awaken our nature, but the goal includes contributing to the higher states of consciousness of others. And that's what service is all about. Now, it can look like, concrete things, like helping the homeless, or helping feed the needy, or helping overcome suffering that is rampant in this world. And each of those steps, each of those little steps allows, you could say, another limitation that others are facing, that prevent them from taking the next step. In other words, when you're hungry, it's very difficult to find the time to study ancient wisdom and meditate and do all the things we're talking about. You have to have a certain level of meeting your needs to achieve the time and effort necessary to reach these other levels. So anything we do to relieve the anxiety and fear and pain in others is helping them achieve the same goals we're trying to achieve as Theosophy. But there's a higher meaning of service, and that is, it becomes a way of life, that your primary motivation for action is to help yourself by helping others, because you see that there is no others, in the sense that we are all one. And in seeing that, every act becomes in the spirit of service. So I think I'm just about done. Let's see if I could find. Okay. So now people have the opportunity to share whatever they've written on their paper. We won't have time for everyone to share, and so I hope that everyone will mail Suzanne their paper. Suzanne didn't know about this.
Oh, you think I don't have enough to do, right? Well, first of all, thank you so much for this very, very beautiful talk and inspiring, and starting with a meditation. And even though there are two people, and I usually don't start with my stuff, but there was something that there was, I would say, an insight, because as some of you have heard before, I believe in reincarnation. I have no doubt. And I always say that we have this CD or a DVD, and, you know, we have to fill this up with many, many lives. And once this DVD is full, then we can, you know, become one with the all, or we can continue serving humanity. But when you were talking about this, that the divine is experiencing through us, I thought, well, there is this absolute DVD, right? That is going to be full one day when everybody, every monad has filled this their own DVD. But at the same time, it's Pablo has given a talk about that, but Jacob Boehme is a mystic that I love, talks about this darkness at the beginning. And I thought, well, when we start, our DVD is empty, right? And so that's that darkness, and it fills every time we have a life, we add experiences, then the light comes in. Anyhow, thank you so much. Chloe, you're first, and Desiree is next.
Thank you, Ed. I didn't know that you worked for Bear Laboratories. I mean, that they were known for they have a lot of Nobel Peace Prizes. So I'm very impressed with your background. Just wanted to say that. You mentioned that instead of writing questions, but writing things that are more of, like, I would say, declarative in a sense. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what I wrote, what I got the sense of it was perpetual knowing and perpetual unknowing, with a unique sense of yearning to go in any direction. And I also put down, the world is a metaphysical broken vase that all pieces have, and all the pieces have been scattered across the continents. However, not all pieces look alike, and the illusion of possession can encumber this worldly task. And my last point would be, from what I got from you, is that I looked up service, because I know, like, I like to look up the origin of words, and I think Arnie maybe can help me with this, because I don't know Hindi. So sir, the prefix is a variant of sero, which comes from the Hindi word, I believe from sir, but it's a unit of weight, 1/4 of a manud. And vice, even though we think that is only in the sense of a fault or flaw, it actually means vices, like Pisces, interchange. It's an ablative of vices, so change. So it's it's a value change, I guess. I don't know. I just found that interesting, because I liked. But overall, I think your talk was more kind of reminded me of Rene Magritte, with like la trahison des images, the ceci n'est pas une pipe. This is not a pipe. The image of a pipe, the painting of a pipe that says that underneath. Basically, it's not a pipe, but it's an image of a pipe. But and that's pretty much kind of like how the goal can be somewhat demystified in the sense that it's like it's right in front of you. Thank you.
Did you want to say something? So anyhow, I have here on the before Desiree speaks, I have JD said akin to monastic phase, I would infer as well. And Michael said, and to become aware, conscious of why we are here, and to become aware, And dropping allows the subconscious the opportunity to weigh in. True. And then he said the spirit of service also applies to the service to self. So maybe you will respond to that. But Michael said to see the value of judgments carried which impact unconsciously and choose to change or remove them from your being. That's a question. And Jane said, from my teacher mode, what do you see as the relation between your goals of theosophy and the three objects? That's her question. Also, from my teacher perspective, is living the monastic life sufficient for offering service to others? And Michael said, and that was in context of what I said, not empty unconscious. And that's true, Michael. I align the empty CD with unconsciousness. So it's just a different word of using it. And JD said, monastic life includes all service to others. See Monastic Wisdom by Elder Joseph the Hay Just. The difference is in what is considered acceptable service. So I don't know if you want to answer any of this or if you want to go over to Desiree, Ed.
Yeah, I'm not here to answer any of the questions.
Okay, good. Okay, go ahead, Desiree.
So I ended up with a big sheet here because I went down the rabbit hole and I came out the other side with a kind of a bigger picture. And so it got my wheels turning, and I asked, when you started with what's the agenda of the divine? Well, agenda infers desire, right? And so the question was, well, for me, it does. If there's an agenda, there's something to achieve, to happen. Okay. And then I'm like, does the divine have desire? And that's kind of like humanizing, because what else can we do? Does it want? And then someone even said, well, goal is, you said, is to know itself, know thyself. But that's, as a subject and object, but that's also a goal. And goal infers desire to have something achieved or happen. So I kind of just went, well, hang on there. I asked, what is the agenda of the divine to humans, to all beings, to all forms, to all formless, to all that is, to all that's not, to all, to not all, to nothing? What's the wheel? Where does it stop? And you hit the nail on the head, I believe, when you talked about vibrating, that we're all vibratory beings. And as you were, before you said that, I'm like, that we exist, everything exists, are the all in the manifest after the division exists in a goal, quote unquote, mindset, that something is moving, that we are in movement, that there's and as people, we might want material gain, physical ideal, relationships, achievement, spiritual enlightenment, oneness with the divine, or some even have the goal to detach from desire and from any goals, and to, just sit on top of a mountain and be not. So the nature of being is goal-oriented. It's, to be goalless is compared to, say, apathetic, stagnant, or stasis. And then I'm like, well, stasis is pralaya. And so as long as we are moving through, the rounds and the rolls and all that, as long as we're going around, we can never go back. There's no stop and reverse. Whatever happens is always a vibratory existence until we stop and go. So that was my aha, that being that simply being is to be is to be associated with some sort of goal, and it can be chunked down to helping other people, to being the best we can be, to, I don't know, making all the money we can. But if we think about everything, there's always this movement, and it infers that there's always something to be happening, to be vibrating and changing, or just keeping being. And to not be is to not be, is to just stop. So that was my giant brain blow there. Thank you, Ed. You've just made my life even more difficult. No, I'm kidding.
But thank you for sharing. But I have two comments here in the chat. The one from Michael. Shan said, to desire something, if stated as I do not have, means focuses the mind, maybe. And Jane said, in reference to Desiree, goal can also mean purpose, not just desire. In my humble opinion. Then the question becomes, as Ed asked, so what is our part of divine? In my words, our ray. Okay. And I like,
if I may, I'll just say, I didn't mean it's I want, it means something is moving, however you put it. So
Yeah.
that's,
it can be, another word is urge for me. I always say the urge,
Yeah.
to grow, to urge to evolve. Excellent. Okay. Who else would like to, any other, let me just look at the participants list. Nobody's unmuted. Is there anybody else who would like to say something or share their insights? I mean, it was I love the way you give presentations, Ed. It's very different. And yeah, you open the mind. And I know your focus is on non-duality. I really liked how you phrased that about the meditation, saying it forces us to be in the present. Like, you know, I'm doing this exercise. It's from a book from Kurt Leland about going on, it's called going on walks consciously, and you really look and you say, okay, this is a tree, or you take it in and you say, this is consciousness, this is consciousness. And what I see constantly happening is then in my mind goes to, okay, what I have to do next, and what do I cook, and whatever. And then I have to pull myself back. And it just shows me how hard it is to really stay in the present. You know, even when just taking a walk on a beautiful day, it is a constant struggle, maybe. I don't know what's the perfect word. It brings my awareness to this all the time, you know, whatever I do. Anybody else who would like to say something or share?
Suzanne, you said something about the DVD. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off and make it quick. I think we've evolved from a vinyl phonograph to a DVD, because
yeah, whatever. I mean, you can say CD, DVD, but what I'm saying is, when we start, it's empty, or as Michael said, we are unconscious, right? And the more incarnations we have, the more experiences we have, the more conscious we become. So I like Michael's suggestion. And then the
grooves in the vinyl, I would.
But you know, I'm also studying Plotinus, and I want to phrase this in this in theosophical terms, but there is this idea from him about the absolute beauty, or absolute intelligence, or absolute reasoning, you know. And so then I thought, when Ed was talking, well, the divine also has this DVD, or the, you know, and everything comes together. It's this absolute DVD, if you want to call it. And so it was really, you know, I don't know how it is for you guys, but there are so many things I read, especially with the secret doctrine, that doesn't make any sense, or I don't grasp it. But then there are these talks, or these moments, or these texts that I read, and suddenly these puzzles pieces are coming together, and I understand some things better. So I found your talk very helpful, Ed, in that respect. Anybody else? Rosie, you're nodding your head. Do you want to share something?
Sure. I mean, Ed, so many of your points really resonate with me. I think one idea, you touched on this in the beginning, when you were talking about the divine, and what I keep noticing, like everything, it seems that in the spiritual quest, you know, not everything, but so many things seem to be both the means and the end at the same time, right? So like if we're practicing being peaceful, like ultimately we are peacefulness. That is our divine spiritual nature. So as you practice it, you become it. You already are it, right? So that to me, that I kept coming back to that, and it's also that image you use at the beginning. And so I was thinking, like in the with the study and the meditation and the service, it's like study is a means. It's not the end, but maybe what evolves out of the study is an end, right? Like that study consciousness, that shift that comes in your consciousness when you study touches on the end, and the meditation too, in that state, in the practice, we touch on it. And service to me is very clear. Service is both the means and the end, right? Because in doing service, we are trying to become more perfected servants in a way, right? Being the most useful that we can possibly be. And then in that sense, we become nearer to the divine. So I'm still kind of mulling it over. But great, thanks so much, Ed. Great fodder for thought.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Bill Blumenauer, who is actually pretty new to Theosophy, member of our lodge, he said the notion that our role is to provide for the divine essence experiences that only we can provide to it is wonderful. It's a wonderful way to think about our own purpose. Yes, and that's exactly what came to me when Ed was talking. Beautiful. Susan, you just turned on your camera. Did you want to say something? You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Rosie, I loved what you said. I am in a senior community and I don't talk Theosophy by name, but I slip in a lot of things that are from Theosophy. Like I always say, I am immortal and indestructible, and that makes them stop and think. And I'm only planting seeds. But I also am aware, because I live here, of all the misery and sadness that people gather through their lives, because I hear all the stories. I can relate to all the stories, and I give them an opportunity to talk, and I think that really helps. I guess that's really all I have to say. I'm doing what I can in small ways, like relating to people, and I think that's really important.
Thank you so much for sharing. You got a heart from Sue. Sue, did you want to say something?
No, I think the great comments, really good topic and presentation, Ed. I particularly like the discussion of how we're doing altruism in so many ways, in what we think and enjoying a wonderful day, or even the study, how we help ourselves understand, but we help others and all. Very nice. Good discussion too.
Thank you. You know, before at the last hour, we talked about the age of Pisces in the secret doctrine, but now we are in the age of Aquarius, and Aquarius rules the 11th house, and the 11th house is group work. And that's exactly what Ed is pointing out too, the service, that we come together, that we activate brain cells we usually don't use, that we hear other perspectives, that we or the same situation with a different view, that is exactly what we need to do. This is exactly what is asked of us in this age, so that we can evolve as human beings. So if there is nobody else, I'm going to
So I encourage people to email what they've written down to Suzanne so that she can share it with the rest of us.
Okay, we can do that. And Ed, do you have any concluding words, except encouraging us to share our thoughts with me, and so that I can share it with the others?
No, it's just that it was an honor and a privilege to talk to you, and immensely enjoying that experience. And I recommend others do presentations.
Yes, and we will have some. JD will be talking in the spring, and I don't think Layla is here, but Justin will be talking in the spring, and so the Alex from Florida is going to talk in the spring. So I always encourage, and as soon as I work on the fall program, I will encourage additional people. That is wonderful. I want to, Vlatka from Bulgaria is here on a Saturday night. That's so wonderful. I want to thank you all for being here. I was deeply touched by your talk, Ed, really. I just am feeling always good when we come together and have these wonderful experiences. I just want to let you know that we won't have another Zoom meeting until the 9th of December, because next week is a holiday weekend. We don't meet on holiday weekends. And then the DC Lodge has a face-to-face meeting on the 2nd of December. And we are going to hear from Mary Abdul from the New York Lodge on the 9th of December. And I hope you can join us. And with that.
Oh, Suzanne,
yes?
sorry, I have just a quick question. The astrological meeting with Gwen and you, she said is it this Sunday?
Yes, it is the advanced.
Okay. Oh, I just want to make sure. Great. Thank you.
And if you celebrate Thanksgiving, then I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful week, probably a little bit lighter than usual. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Happy holiday.
Happy holiday.